Good evening, dear Chabura Kula Teira Kula. As we cruise through the entire Teira Shabbal Peh with the Rambam and our lead one Perek a day, and we are about to begin Perek Yud of Hilchas Tefilla. I want to begin with saying Gut Yom Tiv, where Yud Gimel Tammuz, the day that the Frierdiker Rebbe was finally released from prison, following his imprisonment for spreading Teira Mitzvahs, ensuring that every child under the watchful eye of the KGB had Yiddish Gutta Chinuch. And I want to dedicate this year lovingly to each and every one of our members here and all those that donated with my team for our Cheder campaign. As you know, or you may not, I lead a Cheder in Crown Heights, Altaras HaKodesh, which strives to be Chassidim, the way the Frierdiker Rebbe envisioned that they learn only in Yonei Torah, and from there they develop a vision throughout their life. And we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to buy a house that's right near the first house, and Bez Hashem, move into bigger space and work on it. Those that chaperein on this day, there are endless brachas from the Frierdiker Rebbe and our Rebbe for those that invest in Chinuch Altaras HaKodesh specifically today. Seize this opportunity. Do it for me. Do it for yourself. Tremendous, tremendous brachas. The link is in the description of this video, as well as I'll post for those that want it simpler. And we're going to Perek Asiri. Perek Yud in Hilchas Tefilla is going to discuss a very interesting and familiar topic. We all make mistakes. That's what we do for a living. That's how people live. They make mistakes and they learn from their mistakes. As long as you're learning from that. I was able to have a teacher, the one that brought me into the world of Chinuch was Reb Chaim Ben Yemini Alav Shalom. And he told me it's not a problem to make mistakes as long as you learn from the mistakes. Then it's part of the chinuch, and it's okay. You're the mechanech, you shouldn't be making mistakes. You're human also. It's fine. It's part of the process, providing you're learning from the mistakes. So we're going to discuss people that make mistakes in davening. Very, very probable. And what do you do about it? You should know Torah refers to you in that circumstance as well. Torah has a way for you, which means Torah predicts that this is who Torah was given, not to Malachi Yashar and inside. Perek Yod Allah Alf Mishe Spalel Veloy Chiven Es Liboy. He davened and he forgot he was davening. He was just davening. He was doing it. And he wasn't mechaven, he wasn't focused, he wasn't thinking about it, what he was saying. Yachzav Yispal B'Kavana. Again, this is Shmoneh Esrei. You repeat the entire Shmoneh Esrei. You need to. However, this is if you the whole Shmoneh Esrei was like Vim Kiven Es Liboy B'Bracha Rishayna, the first bracha at you started off with Kavanah, everything is nigrar, everything is, so to speak, drawn after the first Kavanah that you started off with, and you're good. Shuvah and Etzarech, you don't need to repeat Shmoneh Esrei. Now, we're going to point out that the first three brachas, as we already learned, are one unit, and therefore a mistake in these three brachas, not a lack of Kavanah, a mistake, you said something wrong there, collapses all three together. You have to start the whole Shmoneh Esrei again. It's not like you start like any other bracha later on in Shmoneh Esrei, in which you'll start by the bracha that you made a mistake. You'll start that bracha again. Here you have to start the whole Shmoneh Esrei again. So the Rambam. Someone made a mistake in the first three brachas. He goes back, he returns to the beginning of Shmoneh Esrei and davens again. Same deal. The last three brachas where he thanks the Eibishter Hoida'ah. We said the first three is Shevach. He praises the Eibishter, they're one unit. And if you make a mistake, you start from the beginning of Shmoneh Esrei. The final three brachas are also one unit of Haidah, where he thanks the Eibishter. And if you made a mistake over there, you go back to the beginning of the last three brachas, which is Avodah. We begin it with the part of the word Ritzei Hashem Elokeinu B'Amcha Yisrael. Discusses with some She'ei Basar Avodah B'Beisecha. They should return the Avodah of Karbanos in the Beis Hamikdash as was. However, if you made a mistake in one of the middle brachas, you start again for the beginning of the bracha in which you made a mistake. And once you said that one correctly, you continue like regular. This applies also to a chazan, that if you made a mistake, a bracha, if you made the mistake while he was davening out loud, in the same vein, he'll repeat like a private person, which means if it's in the first three, he starts again from Menachem. Last three, he starts again from Ritzei. In the middle, you start that bracha where you made a mistake. Avol, here's the royal exception. If the chazan made a mistake when he's davening his silent Shmoneh Esrei, here we got a problem. If he's going to start again from the beginning of Shemoneh Esrei, or he's going to start again from where he made a mistake. If he's in the middle of his own Shemoneh Esrei, that works. But if he finished Shemoneh Esrei, now he's going to have to daven the whole Shemoneh Esrei again. It's Tircha de Tzibur, and therefore we tell him, in this case, you are allowed to rely on your own Chazaras Hashat. Zakter Rambam Ani Oimer. We'll never tell the chazan you daven another Shemoneh Esrei. This is bothersome and burdensome on the tzibur. In this case, we allow him to rely on the tefillah that he's going to daven aloud. Again, this is providing that he didn't make the mistake in the first three, in which case you're close to the beginning, just start again. He'll be like any private person that's davening. You again start the first three. Halacha Gimel. Shliach tzibur sheta'ah. A shliach tzibur, and it seems from the Rambam that the other case, that means if he made a mistake in the middle, he continues and finishes. I need to check that, but that's what it seems like from the Rambam. Only in the case of the first three, he repeats. Halacha Gimel. Shliach tzibur sheta'ah. What happens? A shliach tzibur made a mistake while he was davening Hoicha Shemoneh Esrei, and he deer in headlights. He freezes, right? He doesn't know where to start, and I'm sure there are people in the minyan telling him, "Yalla, no, start again, Baruch Aleinu, start again, whichever bracha," and he's mixed up, he's frozen. So b'sha'ah, and he waited a shtickle sight. They gave him a chance, didn't work. Let someone else stand up and replace him. Someone starts again, and we'll see. He starts from the place where the first one. We'll see it in the next halacha. Even though that person is now telling the Chazaras Hashat, starts where the first one left off. In which case did we say that you give him a little bit of time to try to chap himself and try to wake up from his to unfreeze? This is all rest of the davening. If he made the bracha. He made his mistake in the bracha of apikursim. That means he skipped the bracha of lamal shinim. Then ein mamtinim loy. Skipped by someone gets up. It may seem to the onlooker that maybe he's double guessing Rahman al-Itzlan, the emunah, and then we have to the cover of the Eibishter. Someone has to get up and show no, and he'll have the opportunity to correct his emunah, show everybody that he believes otherwise, but public, you're standing in the name of everybody. But providing that he didn't start. When do we say someone else started? If he skipped the bracha. But if he started that bracha, you do wait, because over here already you could see that he believes in it. He just got stuck on a word or two, and then you could. When we said the person should get up and right away take over, generally we have a rule that to be a chazan, you shouldn't go right away. No one should be hedyet koifel l'roish to jump to lead the congregation. Hedyet is koifel l'roish. Rather, you should be asked a few times. Don't be a tzadikal in this case. When it's the cover of the Eibishter, stand up, be the man. But Menachem sheinish, and this is Aira for life. It's good to be an anav. When the Eibishter is in need, kiviyachol, now's the time. Menachem sheinish, shishtadali is don't play shtick. And same thing, don't refuse in that time to go up and wait for another person to ask you. Someone that's standing up and taking the place of the chazan. From where does he start? From the beginning of the bracha in which the previous chazan, the mistaker, made a mistake. So beginning of that bracha. This is specifically if he made his mistake in the middle of one of the middle brachas and then he froze. If he made his mistake in one of the first three brachas, which we said is one unit of Shavach of the Eibishter, the second person will begin from the beginning of davening as he would if he was unfrozen. Same deal. If he made a mistake in one of the last three, then the person replacing him, would start from Ritzei in the same way he would if he unfroze. Halacha hey. One man looking for a chazan. I'm going to be a chazan. You don't notice I'm wearing colorful clothing. This guy, you rule him out from being a chazan today. That's it. In this tefillah, this specific davening, he should not go up to be the chazan, even with white clothing. This is very superstitious, and this is a dark by the Zara. It's a pagan style. Say, I'm going to stand in front of the Eibishter like this. If there's no halacha, you don't get closer to the Shekhinah that way, and it sounds off. We don't give him an opportunity, even if he puts on white clothing. The same deal Omar, if the person said, I'm not going to be chazma, yes, b'raglei sandal. I'm wearing a sandal. Who walks? Af yachiv layaver. Even if he takes all the sandal and he comes barefoot, he should not be the chazan. This is not in line with Chazal. Zainish tzadik where chachamim don't add. Rabbi Farkas once quoted. That's from the Rebbe Rashab. I will reich machen elikus. Add new hergeshem and new dinim. The Eibishter's ratzon is clearly spelled out in Teira Shabal Peh that we were zeich to receive Ishmi Pi Ish all the way tracing back to Moshe Misinai, and don't add. Halacha Vav. Mishin istabeglaim hispalel oy in loy hispalel. Here we'll see something very interesting. If someone has a suffix, if he daven Shemoneh Esrei, again, where all this is talking about Shemoneh Esrei. If someone has a suffix that I daven Shemoneh Esrei, I didn't daven Shemoneh Esrei. Ein choizer mispalel. You can start again. You cannot start again because if your intention is to daven as a chiyuv, it means you're bringing a carbon tamid. Carbon tamid they brought once, so you can't give another one. However, elam ken mispal tefillah zu al dashin nedava. Unless when you shtelzach another Shemoneh Esrei, you say this is going to be a donation. If I didn't daven yet, so this is going to be I'm granting another davening. That works, and the chiddush is going to be that you don't need to add anything dachtzach, as you would need by regular tefillas nedava, because the fact that you're doing it al asafik is already nidvas leiv. Now, she'im ratzah yachal espal kol yom tefillas nedava espal. A person can, in any case, give a tefillah nedava. Now, misha ya'omed b'tefillah v'niskar shekvar espalel. Here we have a very fascinating din. If someone's in the middle of a Shemoneh Esrei and he realized 1 second I daven, cold turkey, just stop and walk off. Why? You can't continue davening al das and because you started that this was a obligated davening. In this case, the only exception to this rule is going to be Ma'ariv. Because Ma'ariv, when you shtel zech Shemoneh Esrei, it was b'teiras nedava. Right? Because Ma'ariv is not choiva. Shachas and mincha are connected to 2 karbanos tmidim, shachar and tam shebein. This is connected to varim p'tanim. It's not a chayva, and therefore, being that you started the Shemoneh Esrei anyways, not al chayva, you're allowed to continue as an adava. When you started Shemoneh Esrei of Ma'ariv, you knew that it's not a chayva, and therefore it's considered kivyachol anyways an adava, and you can finish Shemoneh Esrei. Halacha zayin. Someone mishatov is pal shel choil b'Shabbos. He davened a tefillas choil in middle of Shabbos and did not mention the bracha mekadosh Shabbos, the right bracha mitzvahs, right? That's the only difference. The first 3 and last 3 are the same. The middle is the different, and he's going through, knocking throughout the chayin and Yisrael Rafa'enu, Baruch Aleinu, he's going through Tkab B'Shefer, Lamashin is going through. If he finished the whole middle and he got to the end of Shemoneh Esrei, lo yatzu, you start again. You remember the middle of Shemoneh Esrei, you, unlike the person that stops cold turkey, that if he's davening at Fil Shem Tzricha, he will conclude the bracha with the Eibishter's name. Why so? He finishes that bracha shel Shabbos. Why? Because the truth is, aliba the emes, we were supposed to say on Shabbos all the brachas of Chol as well. We don't, because a person say it's a Kol Hashem, but a person has to eat, whatever it is, and therefore the Chachamim gave him only 1 bracha mekadosh Shabbos. But being that initially it was meant to be there, so we let him finish the bracha, and it's fine. He has to schar of that bracha. In Shulchan Aruch, it says a person should make a cheshbon and nefesh if he daven shel Chol b'Shabbos. A yid on Shabbos darf sein anders. A yid in Shabbos, Reb Marash said his pulse is different on Shabbos. A yid's heart pump it anders of Shabbos. So the Rabbi Sain looked up and someone's asked, how can he make a mistake? Reb Marash, he heard the din that if a person gets lost in a midbar, how should he decide with Shabbos? So he should count 7 days from when he lost track. Aganza halacha. So the Rabbi Marashi was a child. He asked, I don't understand. If you don't know what day is Shabbos, just look at the sky and you'll see so under the himmel. Shabbos is a different day, and therefore a person that made this mistake should do a cheshbon and nefesh and should do tshuva. But you finish the bracha. Now, in which case do we say that you conclude the bracha which you were in middle of, and then you go back to make the bracha Shabbos? Is ba'arvis b'shachas u'mincha by Ma'ariv of Kabbalah Shabbos and Shachris and Mincha. Aval b'musaf, there was never l'chatchili, you were never supposed to daven that only if it's Shel Shabbos. Therefore, afil b'emtza bracha, you stop in the middle of a bracha. V'chein imishlim fil shel choil al das shu musaf. If he concluded a regular davening of the middle of the week, and that means a regular Shemona Esrei. He thought it was Musaf. Chayzer Mispala Musaf. You daven again Musaf. Even though l'chura you would seemingly think, one second, he was moisif another carbon, fancy. But what makes it a tefillas Musaf is the fact that you made the brach. You mentioned the karbanis. Al you made mention of karbanis Musaf of Shabbos. If you didn't, it doesn't take it's not considered a carbon. Now, echad Shabbos, echad Yom, echad Rosh Chodesh, you daven again Musaf if you just daven the regular Shemona Esrei. Halacha ches. Misha Tabi Maisak Shamim, and now we're moving into the mistakes. This is a mamish, fascinating. It's a perek for people, perek for the men. Make mistakes. Mistakes, all happens to the best of us, myself included. Okay, halacha ches. I'm gonna say a scary story. Person was in the middle of davening Shemona Esrei. Person sees someone else davening Shemona Esrei. He sees he takes out a box of cigarettes, Marlboro, and puts it back. So I hope you'll understand this joke. It's a little outdated. So I'm saying, asked him, "What maza?" I was in middle of Shemona Esrei. I reminded myself I have to go from here to I have to fly for a business trip. I have to go over there. So I started planning the ticket. And when I came to the gate, they asked me, "Do I want to fly in a smoking area or a non-smoking area?" And I was in the middle of Shemona Esrei, so I just showed them as a smoke, and I went right back to Shemona Esrei. People go through Baruch Hashem and Shemona Esrei, everything. Person, if he wants to know everything he has to do that day, start Shemona Esrei Mitamal, everything comes to mind. It can help him if you would be able to write it down and then just get it out of your mind. That's just to do before you daven. All your to-do list, it's an Eitz HaTorah, this works. Then move on. Okay. So here are more mistakes coming right up. Mi shata bi maisak shaman. Someone made a mistake in the middle of winter. What was he supposed to say? He was supposed to say, when in the praises of the Eibishter, the Eibishter brings wind and brings down rain, rains down on the world. And he didn't say not Masha Baruch Omer de Geshem and not Moirid Atol. He didn't say anything. You have to again repeat Shemona Esrei. You have to say one of the Shabbat. However, if you did mention, even though you didn't mention Masha Baruch Omer de Geshem, if you said Moirid Hatol, you mentioned the Shevach that's close to Geshem, and that passes. However, in the days of the summer after Pesach, and he said Masha Baruch Omer de Geshem, that's already a klala. It's not only a Shevach Eibishter, it's a klala to mention the fact that there's rain. The Eibishter, that ruins the crop that's meant to be drying at that point in the season, in that point of the year. So, but in the summer, if you didn't mention tal, because essentially you don't need a bakasha for tal in any case. It's like Shabbos, mekacha v'kaima, comes on its own. Now, halacha ches. Now we're going to move on from the mentioning again in the first three brachas. They're about shevach. So there we mention Masar Rocham or the Geshem as part of the praise of the Eibishter. Later on in Shemona Esrei, in Birkas Hashanim, over there it's already a request, and we ask Baruch Aleinu Hashana Azois, bless upon us this coming year. And there already we're asking. So Misha Shachach Shelo Birkas Hashanim. We forgot to ask for rain. He forgot to say, saying Talamat Bracha, give us rain. If he reminded himself before he concluded the bracha of Shemei Tefilla, which is later on Shemona Esrei, but over there, Mekana Ayin Rok and any bakashas you want, you don't have to go back. You could say Charles Saksham, Shemei Tefilla over there, you say Masha Baruch Omer de Geshem, or the same Talamat Bracha. Bim, Achesh Be'el Shemei Tefilla, he concluded already Baruch Hashem Shemei Tefilla, then Choyzil Birkas Hashanim. At that point, you have to go back to the beginning of Baruch Aleinu, and again, ask for the same Talamat Bracha. And finish Shemona Esrei, I'll say there. If he didn't remind himself until he finished the whole Shemona Esrei, then you start again. Now, if he made a mistake and it was Rosh Chodesh, he should have mentioned Yala v'Yavai, and should have mentioned Rosh Chodesh in the bracha of Avodah of Ritzei. And if he reminded himself before he concluded davening, then begin to say again and remind. But if you remind yourself only after you concluded Shemona Esrei, then it requires a new Shemona Esrei. You didn't say Al B'Yavai. Now, Here's a very interesting thing. You should know that the Rambam includes in Tachanunim everything that we say after Baruch Samei Yisrael B'Shalom. We say Yul Ratzin and Al Kainet Zoyer, and the psukim that we say before Eis Shalom, we say the psukim of our name. The Rambam considers that all Tachanunim, which Be'etzim is after Shemona Esrei, but being that you were Oike Raglav, you didn't step back yet, if you reminded himself over there, even though you finished on Baruch Samei Yisrael B'Shalom, you don't need to start the whole Shemona Esrei again. You can still be Chayzer L'Avoy to go back to Ritzei. Before you uprooted your feet and you walked back, Chayzer L'Avoy just start from Ritzei. In which case do we say that a person has to repeat Shemona Esrei for a missing Yalav Yavoy? This is B'choyle Shel Moed, on Chol Shel Moed, B'shachas Mincha V'Shel Rosh Chodashim. All the tefillos of Chol Moed and Shachris and Mincha Rosh Chodesh. However, Arvis Shel Rosh Chodesh, that Ma'ariv, for a few interesting reasons, if you didn't mention Yalav Yavoy, Ein Chodesh, you don't repeat, because they wouldn't be Machres. Then it was a kitzur in the time of the Beis Hamikdash. The Beis wasn't Machres yet at that time, wasn't for sure. Not getting into it. And a few in Yom together. And whoops, yeah. If you didn't mention Yalav Yavoy, you don't go back. Halacha Yud Beis. Anytime when we said that the private person goes back and repeats and davens again, same thing as shliach tzibur chayzer mispalel. Im tak kemoyse beisim mispalel b'kol ram. Again, not when it's still Shemona. Then we said you could rely on your next Shemona. While he's davening out loud, for example, if you got Yalav Yavoy, you go back. Chutz mishachris or Rosh Chodesh. Shachris or Rosh Chodesh, im shachris le'tzibur v'lehiske Yalav Yavoy ad sheishlim tefillah. He finished the whole Shemona Esrei, Hoichesh Shemona Esrei, and didn't mention Yalav Yavoy. Ein machzir noisei. If he concluded the whole Shemona Esrei, if he didn't, you go back to Ritzei like everybody. Why so? Because mipnei terech hatzibur. Because it's a burden on the tzibur to wait for him to say again the whole Shemona Esrei, we allowed him to rely on the Tefillas HaMusaf. Tefillas HaMusaf in the Lefanim Shumaska, but Rosh Chodesh, you don't get to mention Rosh Chodesh in the Musaf, you could rely on that. Halacha Yud Gimel. And now we're moving on to the next series of mistakes men could make. The endless variations. And we're going to focus on the Aseret Simei Tshuva. 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and all the 7 days in the middle. Asar Yom Rosh Hashanah ad Yom Kippur, the 10 days from beginning from Rosh Hashanah until after Yom Kippur. Tov v'chasam b'hem bebracha shlishas hakel HaKadosh. He was meant to conclude the third bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem HaMelech HaKadosh, the day that the Eibishter, these days where the Eibishter, we recognize the Eibishter as king, and we strengthen his reign over the world. Over here, he should have said Hamelech HaKadosh, and he said Hakel HaKadosh. Chayzer l'roish, you start again the whole Shemona Esrei, like anyone that makes a mistake in the first 3 brachas. Tov v'chasam ba'ashtei Esrei. In the 11th bracha, he said Melech Tzedakah Mishpat, the king that loves loves kindness and just. So the Etzim should have said Hamelech HaMishpat, because that's the focus of the Eibishter. These are the days of judgment. So Chayzer Tchilas bracha, you start at the beginning of that bracha of after which you continue. I'll say that. If he didn't remind himself until he concluded the entire tefillah, he goes back to the beginning of the davening. Now, echad yachid, echad shliach tzibur, whether it's a private person or a shliach tzibur or a chazan, tav v'lohiske havdalah. Sorry, that's whether it's a private person or a chazan, you go back for Hamelech HaMishpat. Halach yadal, tav v'lohiske havdalah b'choyin adas. It's Matzei Shabbos, and you made a mistake and you didn't mention havdalah atachin antanu in the bracha of choyin adas. Mashlim tefillah and tzarich lachzeh. This is something you will not need to go back for. You're soon going to make al kois and you're good. You just have to say baruch ma'av b'kodesh l'chol before you touch any muktzah. B'dibur. V'chein mishloi hiskir al anisim b'chanukah purim. Same deal. Someone that didn't mention al anisim on Chanukah purim and anenu on a fast day. These 4 things does not repeat Shemona Esrei. Again, atachin antanu, al anisim of purim and Chanukah, and anenu of a fast day. You don't go back. Now, echad yachid v'echad shliach tzibur. Whether this applies private person or a chazan representing the congregation. However, if he reminded himself, let's say in a fast day, before he walked back, he combines the lashon without a separate bracha, but combines it in before the Yul Ratzin. He says, our name you should answer us because you listen to prayer, the one that redeems us in all times of tzara. Yiratzin repeat back in the Menachem concludes Shemona Esrei Halacha says Vav. Very interesting scenario. If a person made a mistake on Friday and didn't daven mincha, we're going to obligate him to daven 2 Shemona Esreis by night, because we said you could be mashlim by the next tefillah, even though the second you're being mashlim, you're saying 2 korbanos on Shabbos, could be achol, and the Shabbos doesn't. You still do it. Shachar v'lo yispal mincha b'erev Shabbos yispal arvish time shel Shabbos daven 2 of Shabbos, even though one is replacing a tefillah of chol. L'chein b'yamtiv, the same deal. Now shachar v'lo yispal mincha b'Shabbos. Now's the flip side scenario. He forgot mincha at the end of Shabbos, and now he's davening a regular weekday 2 Ma'ariv to replace for davening a Shabbos or Yom Tov. Still, mispal might say ein arvish shtayim shel chol, 2 Shemona Esreis of weekday. Now, in which one does he do Havdalah? Important to remember what we've already explained in the past, that the first tefillah, that's the one that's for now, and then afterwards, the second tefillah is the Hashlama. And here's where it's going to play out. Interestingly enough, if you didn't say Atachoinen in the first one, and you only said, you didn't say Atachoinen Tano in the first Shemona Esrei, only in the second Shemona Esrei, then it seems like you're indicating that the second Shemona Esrei is the tefillah for now. And then the first one you were not yet saying, you need to repeat another Shemona Esrei for the day, for the tefillah that you missed. But if you made in both of them, or you didn't do in both of them, then you're good to go, because you didn't indicate anything problematic. So let's see it inside. Ma'avdil Barishoin. You make Havdalah on that, such a scenario where a person forgot mincha and is davening 2 Ma'ariv Sochel on Matzah Shabbos. Ma'avdil Barishoin. You do Atachan Antonu. You make that Havdalah B'dibur in the first Shemona Esrei, but ain't a Ma'avdil B'shniya, not in the second one. B'mihivdil B'shneim oish loydil ba'achas, man. Yotza. If you didn't say Atachan Antonu, need not in the first, not in the second, or you said in both of them, Yotza. Avalim loyhivdil Barishoin v'dil B'shniya. If you didn't say Atachan Antonu in the first one, you only said in the second one. You have to daven a third Shemona Esrei. Why? The first Shemona Esrei is invalid. You kivyachol jumped the gun. You said you daven the tefillah for the day before you daven Ma'ariv. It only is as we explained, it can only be samach to the next tefillah, and therefore the first one has to be the tefillah of now. And if you indicated that was from before because you said Atachayin in the second one, the first one is invalid, and you have to daven the third Shemona Esrei. The chola mispalo, shtei tefillos. Anyone that's davening 2 tefillos, even if it's shachras and musaf, that means even if it's not the same Shemona Esrei again, they're 2 separate chiyuvim, shachras and musaf, in which you think there's no difference. You finish one nosach, you're going to the next one, you chai both, you didn't forget anything. Lo yispalo zuach hazu. One should never daven one Shemona Esrei right after the other one. El yisha bein tefillah letefillah kadesha dischoin and daite olav. One should wait a little bit before the next Shemona Esrei, so his mind becomes like he's being mischanen again from anew. It's not like it's a drag. He stopped and thought that he wants that beg the Eibishter for kindness. And halacha tezayin, the final halacha for today. Also, loyla mispal b'tzibur is prohibited for a person that's about to daven b'tzibur sheyakdim tfilas tzibur to jump ahead and start his Shemona Esrei before the tzibur, on the expense of the tefillas tzibur. That means if I daven Shemona Esrei now, I'm going to miss the Chazar Sashatz. You cannot do that. Hanichnas l'beis haknesses. So what happens? You see people davening silently and you're not sure. So here you have to make a call. If you can start Shemona Esrei and you believe you can conclude your still Shemona Esrei before the Chazan gets to Nakdishach of the Chazar Sashatz, then start Yispal. If you're not sure or you won't be able to, you wait for the tzibur, the chazan, to start his communal chazar sashatz. And you say it together with him, and you're saying your Shemona Esrei together with the chazan, as if you're the chazan, together with him, till you get to kedusha, and then you respond to the chazan's nakdishach like the tzibur, and then you daven the rest of the davening on your own. It's called the hoiches Shemona Esrei. Some people, some literature yeshivas do it lechatchila by mincha. Now, be'im yischil is just over there. In that case, the chazan is quiet after the kaddish. Be'im yischil is pal kodim shliach tzibur. If you jumped ahead You did what was wrong. You started your own Shemoneh Esrei, and you didn't have enough time to get to Kedusha. And now you're in the middle of your Shemoneh Esrei, you're in the middle of V'la Malshinim, and boom, the Chazan is now hit. Nakdishach. Lo yafsik, you shouldn't stop. V'lo yanech Kedusha imam, and you don't say Kedusha with them, you continue down Shemoneh Esrei. V'chein lo yanam yesh mirabah mevarach, you don't say Amin yesh mirabah if the Chazan is holding Barkadosh Hu Be'em Tefilla if you're in the middle of Shemoneh Esrei. Vein tzarich loimer b'shar brachas. How much more so if you can't stop for Amin yesh mirabah, you can't stop for Nakdishach, how much more so you don't stop for any other bracha, any other Amen. Yasher Koyach for being with us. Tremendous geschmack to learn together. Our Chabura Kol HaTorah Kula, cruising through the entire Torah Shabbal Peh with the Rambam in our lead, one Perek a day. Looking forward to see all of you donate and mishtatev and receive all the brachas Rabbi Yusewitz give for those that support Chinuch Al Taras HaKodesh, specifically in this day where the Friedrich Grab one Amseres Nefesh. This is your once in a year opportunity, and now it's a very special opportunity for me personally. Please join. You'll see the link in the description or as I share on the group. Yasher Koyach, Rabbi Nemirovsky, leading our team of experts in the IT department. Thank you.